Hello there. Welcome to my home in Cyprus. I'm laughing because this feels really odd for me. For you guys, you can't tell any difference whatsoever. And I don't have a fake background. I might as well have. Um, Things are very different for me at the moment. My life is in turmoil. I'm all over the place and I haven't been here, as in here. I haven't been here. If you watch my other channel, Tranquility Through Life's Natural Beauty, you will see Friday I came from somewhere else. And that's actually a great one. I was in my house, go and see, and it was my first trial using my phone. And that was because I couldn't use my laptop for my live. We had no credit left on our internet. And so we've sort of fudged today, a bit. So as I've tried to explain to you before, if I don't do something regularly, it's very hard for me to remember how to do things. And that was just missing out Friday. So I went from last Wednesday here to Monday here. And because I haven't even been on my laptop, things are in turmoil. But I did enjoy doing it on my phone. It was a palaver, but I talked about that on the live on Friday. And funny enough, I said, I better get loads of views on this because I've put something in the title about it's my first time on the phone, hope it works. And yeah, sure enough, it's one of my most viewed lives on my other channel. So that was crazy. I do have a question for you about doing it on your phone. Now, this is if you do it on your phone and you do what I do and use the side panel on the right when you're hosting to show little clips, interludes, or whatever you do, but on the right-hand side panel, not the underneath bit. If you don't do StreamYard, you won't know what I'm talking about. But when you do it on your phone, when I clicked on, I was practicing just before I went on live, and I clicked on the countdown or something on the right hand side, then I should come back on the screen, and I didn't. It was just the background, and the button where you would click now on a laptop live, you would click underneath. You can see yourself a little box down the bottom when you're off the screen, like where your guests come in, and that isn't there. And actually asked StreamYard, how do I get myself back on the screen after playing something on the right-hand side? I was on the screen prior to that, and they said, press the return button. Yeah, I think they said return button. Press the return button on the studio. What? There was nothing else to press. There was, as I say, some of it is missing, and I can't put anything in the comments. Well, that's fine because I hardly ever do that anyway, but I can't comment. I did quite enjoy it. There was things that went wrong, which if you watch it, you will see. It was quite funny, but I quite enjoyed that. I might make my lives on my phone a regular Friday thing. Because then like the summer and the spring, I can do lives from my garden. I probably won't change the Wednesday and the Fridays on this channel. One, because I like to show you things and that, and I can't take stuff elsewhere. But on Tranquility Through Life's Natural Beauty, I think I might do my lives now in different rooms as it's winter, or out in the garden. And I was actually gardening on my Friday live, showing you how I physically do my seeds, how I start my seeds off. So if you want to see that, do go and look. I felt it was quite a good live actually, and as I say, something happened in it. It was funny but not funny. So go and have a look at that. And I gave you loads of tips and stuff, and chatted about stuff as well. So you'll see more of my home, I think, on Fridays. As I say, if it's summer or spring, I might do them from my garden. But I think my Friday ones might now be on my phone. I might try that. That sounds like that would be different then. It makes it a different sort of live. We have in the chat Steve and Tina Jewel, hello to you. And we have Glitterworld Grand Rising. So hello to you both. Thank you for being here. So I was quite pleased on the phone. I could still do all those little interludes and that. But as I say, I didn't do them in that live because at that point I couldn't get myself back on the screen afterwards in the quick little practice just beforehand. But I was surprised you could do most of the other things. There's also not on the phone, as I say, these little boxes down the bottom underneath, where one box is me now, and if one of you suddenly came on the live, I would see you're waiting to come on because you'll be in a little box down the bottom. Those boxes don't exist. It finishes above those. So I know there's 3 buttons I can press to see if there's a guest in the room, but I'm not going to keep clicking on that every 5 minutes to see if someone's there. So I don't know how you would know that on the phone either. So if any of you do a live on your phone at all and you use these things, so I know some of you just do a live on your phone, but you don't do anything other than just literally film yourself live. But if you do a live on your phone and use the little clips and that, like I've just shown, then do let me know how I can find those things. Okay, as I say, I think I will try again another Friday. I think I will do that. And I'd like to remind you all, I've been saying it for quite a little while now, if I'm not here on a live time, there is a premiere instead. So I'm not going to keep putting in the community post. I'm not live today. There's a premiere instead. So just if you come on, a lot of you are quite regular live watching me. If you come on, I'm not live. I know a lot of you would then go and check on the community post, but I'm telling you now, if I'm not live, there is a premiere started. The premieres will be the same time as my lives. So it'll be now if it's a Wednesday or a Monday, and a different time off my Friday ones. So I'm not going to keep putting up community posts because I might not be around to be able to access anything. That's why you've got a premiere. I won't be around to access anything. So therefore, that's why I can't put a community post message up. So as I say, if I'm not live when I should be live, click over on the, I think it comes under videos, click under on the videos, and there should be a premiere playing instead. I've already missed out. I've only missed out this week doing a few community posts because, as I said, no internet. So hence why I had to use my phone on Friday, because that's obviously on a different system to the house internet. And I only missed doing a few community posts, and my money's gone down to €9 a month. €9 a month. Well, that means I don't get paid basically till accumulations of €9 until I get to €70. And that's just because everything else I've been doing as best as I can as normal. But crazy days here, crazy days. Okay, I did do, as I said to you last week, I had already done some new quote corners, and now we will have this week's new quote corners. So we will start first of all for Monday, and we will do new quote corner for Monday. Here it is. So you'll get new quote corners each live for, I don't do them, change them every month, just about then I change them, but it doesn't mean there will be a new one every month. Okay, let's begin. Today I've named this live stream, Did You Know This? And I've tried to, everything I do for you today, I want to fall under this title, Did You Know This? So each of today's themes will be something, did you know this? So let's see how much you learn today while we're having fun. So let's start with this. So I thought we would talk health because a lot of you have probably got coughs and colds and sniffles. So I thought we would do a few health tips. Did you know this? If you drink marjoram tea, it will relieve coughs, aching muscles, cramp, colic, nervous hysteria, and headaches. Add a muslin bag containing it to a hot bath to ease stiffness from overexertion or rheumatism. That's a good one for you. I've actually planted my first ever marjoram seeds the other day. I can't believe how small they were. I think that's the smallest ever seeds I've ever seen. I say seen, I could barely see them. They were like little black dots. So I'm not fully sure they're going to actually grow. I'm not sure they're going to grow. I couldn't believe how tiny they were. Just little black dots. I thought they deteriorated. So we will see. Okay, the second hack is apple cider vinegar is a safe remedy for many ailments, including indigestion, diarrhea, high blood pressure. Gargling with 1 teaspoon, 5 ml, of cider vinegar in a glass of warm water relieves a sore throat and a tickling cough. And the next one, garlic is antiseptic and helps to fight infections and keep them at bay. It reduces high blood pressure and eases coughing in bronchitis, asthma, and whooping cough. 2 more for you. The next one is soothe a troublesome cough with a bedtime drink of hot milk containing a large teaspoonful, 6 ml, of black treacle or molasses and a sprinkling of nutmeg. And the last one for today, chew pieces of raw onion to relieve a bad cold or a sore throat. Onions can destroy germs in the mouth within 5 minutes. Wow. So there's a few for you. Hope they were of some use to you, or make a note of them for future reference. Okay, let's move on. Hello to those just joining me. And of course, always thank you for my moderators, and hello to those of you watching later. Okay, a bit of fun today. This is still from my after dinner speeches book, and it says, many years ago, I was appearing in a magistrate's court in the Midlands for a man charged with a serious offence against a very small boy. The boy, the magistrates had decided, was much too young to understand the nature of the oath, and would therefore give his evidence after a mere reminder that he must answer questions truthfully. The prosecuting solicitor was being more than usually punctilious about asking leading questions, being unnecessary, careful not to appear to be telling the boy what to say. He got his name by asking what it was, and that he lived with his mother at 10 Broad Street, but he couldn't get out of him the name of the village. Having tried several approaches and failed, he finally said, "Look, Tommy, if I wrote you a letter, I should put on the envelope your name and 10 Broad Street, and what else should I put?" And the answer said, "A stamp." That was a bit of fun. That was a bit of fun. Hope you liked that one. Steve's put the link up to Glitter World. Thank you for that, Steve. Steve, always put your link. Do that. You like that one? That was a bit weird, that one. What shall we do now? What shall we do? Let's do a bit of this. We haven't heard that tune for a while, so we can't have done that section for a while, so I thought we'd do a bit of this. And with Christmas coming up, we don't talk about Christmas till after my birthday. It's coming up 6th of December. It's coming up fast, and it's a big birthday, big number. But with Christmas coming up, some people like to entertain their relatives, so I thought I would share with you from my magic book an easy magic trick to amuse perhaps your grandchildren or your own children. And this one's called A Long Stretch. It's very easy, but of course you might be able to fool people with it. So we will take a look and see. Okay. So this one's called A Long Stretch. The ever-growing... Oh, my speaker just sparked. Did you see me jump? I don't know if you heard it. The speaker just sparked. Oh, well. So it's the ever-growing handkerchief. It's very easy to do. I'll show you pictures as well. Hold a large handkerchief by two corners and twist it up between your hands. Secretly bunch some of the material into your hands. Pull the handkerchief tight, then pretend to stretch it. Twirl and stretch it again and again. So this is how you have it at the beginning. There. So you can see the next picture how you hide some within your hands as you're stretching it and twirling it. Okay, does that make more sense with a picture? So you're pulling the handkerchief twice, then pretend to stretch it, twirl and stretch it again and again. Every so often, allow a bit of material to slip out. The twirling and stretching action makes it look as if the hanky is getting longer. Keep twirling and tightening in this way until all the material has been released from your hands and you are holding only the corners now of the handkerchief. So that's, I'm sorry for the delay of seeing the picture. So that's here. And then put both hands together. The hanky suddenly seems to have returned to its normal size. Try to convince the audience you're really doing magic. The faster you perform this, the more impressive it will be. So that's all the pictures there. The ever-growing handkerchief. So that's quite a simple one. So remember, twirl and pull, and basically at the beginning, hold a lot of the material in your hands. And then as you twirl, pull, but you're actually releasing some of that handkerchief out. And then bring your hands back together and it looks like it's the normal size again. So that's a little magic trick for you to perform over your Christmas. Was it the cat? No, it was a spark shot out my speaker and made the noise. No, it didn't quite make that noise. Hey, we have two Doves, Bees and Gardens in the house today. Thank you for being here. A bit earlier today. Nice to see you. Okay, what other delights do I have for you today? Let's have a look at this. So, as I say, the title of today's live is Did You Know This? So let's do some more things. Did you know? All Saints Day. This is a Christian festival commemorating all the church's saints collectively. It's held on the 1st of November in the Roman Catholic and Anglican churches and on the first Sunday after Pentecost in the Eastern churches, formerly known as All Hallows, Halloween. Alphorn. Do you know what an alphorn is? A-L-P, as in the Alps. Alphorn. This is a musical instrument found in rural communities, particularly in the Swiss Alps. Most alphorns are about 1.8 metre, which is 6 foot long. They're made of wood and can sound the first 5 or 6 harmonics, but examples up to twice that length are not uncommon. Interesting things coming from here today. Just random. Belladonna. I'm sure you gardeners know about belladonna. A liquid extract of the deadly nightshade plant. But do you know why it's called that? It's called this because Italian ladies used to apply it to their eyes to make the pupils dilate, an effective deemed attractive. So there's something there. Let's have another fact. Bell ringing. We all know what bell ringing is. The art of ringing church bells. Do you know what it's called if you're a bell ringer? Does anyone know that? It's campanology. Campanology. And I'm sure if you're doing a quiz over Christmas, you might get that. So remember that. Campanology. Its two popular forms are change ringing, a hand-pulled method, and the carillon method, performed with the use of a keyboard connected to the clappers of the bell. Let's do a couple more. Wilton. Norman Wilton Chamberlain, nicknamed Wilt the Stilt. And that is a basketball player born in Philadelphia. His height was 1.85 metres, which is 7 feet 1 inch. He was 7 times the National Basketball Association leading scorer, 1960 to 1966. During his career, 1960 to 1973, he scored 419 points at an average of 30.1 per game. Wow. Chamber of Commerce, an association of business enterprises in a district whose aims are to promote the area and its members' businesses. The International Chamber of Commerce, based in Paris, was set up in 1920 and has the affiliation of over 40 national institutions. Let's do 2 more to finish. Chameleon If you're in Cyprus, you will have plenty of chameleons in your garden. A lizard native to Africa, the Middle East, South Spain, India and Sri Lanka. Body flattened from side to side, can change its colour rapidly. Tail clasping, it cannot be shed. Eyes moved independently of one another. Its tongue is longer than its head and body, with sticky tip that shoots out to hit insects and prey. Last one for here, the Channel Tunnel. Facts on the Channel Tunnel. A tunnel linking France and Britain. First proposed, would you ever guess when it was first proposed? In 1802. In 1985, the Eurotunnel was set up to finance the tunnel and operate it once it opened. Built by the Anglo-French link, it consists of twin rail tunnels from Folkestone to Calais. Opened in 1994. It's 50 kilometres, 91 miles long, which is 38 kilometres and 23 miles under the sea. Wow. Some interesting information there. How much of that did you know? Wilt Chamberlain. Oh, 2 doves' nose. Steve says, used to enjoy listening to the bells on a Sunday morning. Oh, and Steve said about that one. Clever. Yes. Lots going on there. Okay, I want to share something very interesting with you. It is for me. Now, if you were here, I'm sure it was Wednesday. On Wednesday, I was talking about one of my favourite games I got for, I can't remember, birthday or Christmas. And I said it was a clever game because you only needed one person. And I said, I'm sure I've still got that game. I got it. I found it. So you can share it with me. I can't remember what I said. I thought it was called, but it's called the Electronic Detective. And for its day, this was awesome. This was before really all these computer games and things like that. And all I could remember about, you could play it on your own. And I said to you, I remembered you slotted cards in the top. I remembered that, but I couldn't remember much more about it. So let's have a look at that. Let's pop that up there. It says a computerized whodunit game. Over 130,000 murder mysteries. Obviously, the computerized section of it can make different, outcomes. It says ages 10 and up, 1 to 4 players. 1 to 4 players. Oh, it doesn't say anything on the bottom. Now, in its time, it was very expensive because it says £25.95. That was probably all my money for, let's say it was Christmas, all my money. What my mum used to do was say you could either have lots of little things or one big present. So I'm guessing I probably just had this. £25, and it's from Gameleys. If anyone's from England, I don't know if Gameleys is in other countries, let me know. So I'm going to open it up. It says it takes 6 HP7 batteries. Now obviously I don't have those, so I can't work it for you, but that's with the lid off. I'll read you all the bits. So it's quite big. It's quite big. It says the ultimate whodunit game where 1 to 4 players combine human deductive reasoning with advanced computer logic to solve over 130,000 totally different murder mysteries. Bang, bang, shots ring out in the big city. A body lies alone at the docks. The funeral dirge sounds. 19 colourful characters at the scene of the crime flee to other parts of the town. As one of the investigators assigned to the case, you must interrogate the suspects. Players compete using logic and deduction to be first to identify the murderer. But as I say, my mum got it because I could play on my own, because I often wanted to keep playing games and people didn't. Steve saying, when I started work, I was on £12 a week, 1974. It says case fact sheets, suspect cards, operating instructions are included under the game.
I was on £6.50 a week in 1970.
Did you hear that, Steve? Mike said he was on how much?
£6.50.
£6.50 a week.
Or £6.10 shillings.
£6.10. When was that?
1970.
1970. It says, in its powerful computer brain, electronic detective has all the suspect alibis plus key clues relating to the murder. Its electronic IQ is at your fingertips. I remember it was very clever. Each suspect card contains different questions you may ask to obtain vital information, which will help you deduce the identity of the murderer. The computer becomes the suspects as you grill them one by one. You have the questions and it has the answers. By clever selection of the suspects and questions, you can build up your case fact sheet quickly. Electronic detective LED display shows you the answers. Your case fact sheet helps you study and weigh the suspect's statements and logically follow the tangled web of evidence. Now you're ready to make an accusation. If you're correct, the sirens sound. If not, bang, bang, the next victim is you and you're out of the game. You may recheck clues at any time using the computer's electronic memory bank. Woo. Gunshots, police sirens, and the funeral dirge are all part of the game's play. Played at the 3 different levels: amateur, professional, and master detective. Automatically switches off after gameplay is completed. Battery operated so you can play anywhere. Oh, it's a mobile. It's mobile. So let's get that out. Oh, you don't put the cards in the top. I think you put it in a slot. What is it? It's a holder for the cards. Look, it's a holder for the cards. There. I thought you sort of keep them in. So you've got buttons here and it's got suspect, private question, I accuse, enter, end turn, on, off, and then numbers. And then down the bottom here it's got, it's where the answer comes on the LED as to what it's answering. So I was with these suspects. I was at, and then the letters signify art show, theatre, card party, docks, embassy, factory. Then another section, I was uptown, I was midtown, I was downtown. Another section, I was on the west side, I was on the east side. So it gives you numbers or letters on the LED, and they signify the answers based on, I guess, your questions. So you have cards, lots of cards, and that's what you put in that back. So you make a file, I guess, because they've all got different things across the top. So, for example, Lenny Little, bartender, married to Ivy Little. Did the murderer go to East Side? It would be yes or no. Did a male do it? You can ask him yes or no. Were you on the East Side? Yes or no. Are an odd number suspects prints on the .38? Yes, no, I don't know. Are an odd number suspect prints on the 45? yes, no, I don't know. So you've got the number of the person, and then I guess you can pick anyone, ask them any question. Then you've got your sheets. So the murder facts, who said what, who was where, who did it. Lucy Tumble? Who is Lucy Tumble? Oh, right, that's probably the cat. Right, you're a character. Okay. Right, that's different characters. And then you've got how to play. And don't you just love when there's not too many pages? I don't like games where there's like tons and tons of rules and you want to get on and play. You looked after the game. I did look after my games. The box isn't even broken. I do recall once I got this, I did play it a lot. I just couldn't remember exactly how it was, which is strange because I did play it a lot. So I think that was probably the last game that I got. I'm pretty sure that was the last game. So yeah, I wanted to share it because I did talk about it. Steve saying, was that Wages Dunn and Co Bromley?
No, that was Caters, as they were called.
Caters.
Surrey Street.
Caters Supermarket, Surrey Street, Croydon. Okay, let's have a look at this. Done a little bit more of the embroidery. It's taken ages to do a tiny section, so I'm still on the back of the chair. So I haven't finished the back of that chair yet, but that's the bit I'm doing. Then I think I'm going to do the back of the other chair. I have an idea for the seats. Oh, I hadn't done one of the lines around the chair. If you look back to the last live, I hadn't done the black line for some reason. I'm going to do the back of the other chair. And then I've got an idea now for the cushions, the seats. I'm thinking about, it's all experiment, this one. It's a total experiment. I'm thinking about making very small, thin, padded cushions from material, stuff them, it can't be too stuffed, and then sew them on. That might look good. It might be total rubbish, but this is an experiment. I'm going to use different mediums to do this. So yeah, I'm thinking about making actual little mini, they've got to be thin cushions or they might look a bit weird, but make little cushions because that saves a lot of stitching. And then I thought, maybe now I'm going to think of other materials and ways of doing all the other bits, not all stitching. I'm thinking about that. What do you think? I'm going to give it a go. It might look awful and I just have to do a few sort of tacking stitches to hold it down. So it'd be almost like 3D effect. That might work. What do you think? Let me know. I'm just throwing things on the floor. Okay. So what should we do now? Let's do a little bit of, let's stick with the Did You Know This? Let's do this. So we're going to talk about December gardening. We're nearly there, aren't we? I don't even know where I am now. Yes. Next week will be December. Whoa. In the vegetable garden. And it says, you may have been lucky enough so far to escape frost and snow. Always where I live. No snow, no frost. But you cannot expect to do so much longer. Yes, I can. Now it is the time to take stock of any crops remaining in the garden and to see whether any need to be lifted and removed to store or if they require further protection in the ground. Of the root crops, parsnips, Hamburg parsley, Jerusalem artichokes, salsify and Swedes are perfectly hardy and may be left in the ground, although a covering of straw, vegetable matter or soil may be useful in exceptionally hard winter. Certain varieties of turnip can withstand frost, while others will not, so check on what you're growing. As a rule, the green top varieties are hardier than the purple top kinds. That's a good way to remember. Celery is best left in the ground until needed, but you are now approaching the end of the crop, and in most winters there's not much point in trying to reserve any for use after Christmas. Of the brassica crops, winter cabbage, Savoy, and most varieties of kale, winter cauliflower or broccoli that are now cropping, as well as those which will produce curds in spring, and of course Brussels sprouts, should all be looking well and prepared for any weather, as with leeks. But draw soil up around all those crops to give them as much support as possible. In exposed situations, it may be worthwhile staking such tall plants as Brussels sprouts and kale. Cut down and burn any remaining dead stalks of Jerusalem artichokes. Keep an eye on the autumn sown broad beans and peas and on lettuce that will be producing the early spring crop. If you protect them with cloches throughout the winter, you will be probably bringing them on too early in spring, but a layer of straw will help them in the hard weather. Also be sure to press down frost-loosened soil around them when the thaw comes. Continue to lift chicory for forcing as required, but dig up any winter endive remaining in the ground and transfer to a frost-proof shed for blanching. In the fruit garden, the completion of winter pruning of apples and pears by the end of early winter is for most purposes the ideal, but pruning any time between late autumn and the end of late winter, weather permitting, can be reasonably carried out. However, the pruning of stone fruits, such as plums and cherries, is slightly more complicated. Silver leaf disease and bacterial canker are much more likely to infect trees through wounds made by winter pruning than during the summer. On the whole, it's better to prune during the summer or immediately after picking, although it's possible to prune cherries in winter, provided they're not infected with bacterial canker or the disease is not present on a neighbour's tree. Cherries are much less vulnerable to silverleaf than plums. Neglected apple and pear trees present something of a problem, as do other forgotten fruit trees. Bush forms of apple and pear trees that have made a lot of growth, cropped passably, and are a mass of branches are worth retaining and renovating. If 2 or 3 main branches can be removed from the centre to create a bowl-shaped framework of the remaining branches, this clearance will let in light and air. Pruning of the remaining growth should aim at removal of dead and diseased shoots, thinning of crowded and crossing growth, and cutting back some remaining shoots to encourage new shoot production. Old trees that are dying, have gnarled trunks, and make little or no growth are best felled and grubbed out, with new trees planted in their place after thorough soil preparation. Large healthy trees of good varieties can be shaped and fed as necessary. In the greenhouse, make a herb indoor garden for winter. In a greenhouse, glass porch, or even on a windowsill, it takes up little room and can be ornamental as well as useful. It can be placed on a spare shelf in your conservatory. An indoor winter herb garden can be established from seed or by lifting roots from the garden and transplanting them into pots or other containers. And then what you should be doing in December, your vegetables, you should be mulching parsnips, Hamburg parsley, Jerusalem artichokes, salsify and swede. You should be harvesting Brussels sprouts, cabbage, including Savoy, heading your broccoli, winter cauliflower and celery. Also fush, chicory, endive, Hamburg parsley, Jerusalem artichoke, kale, leek, lettuce, parsnip, salsify, spinach, spinach beet, swede, turnips and winter radish. Your fruits, you should be planting apple, bush and cane fruit, fig, grape, nuts, pear, quince and stone fruits, prune, apple, currant and pear. Under glass grow apricot, grape, nectarine and peach. Mulch or top dress all trees, bush and cane fruit. Protect from birds your apricot, cherry, currant, gooseberry, nectarine, peach, pear and plum. And you should be sowing in your greenhouse carrot, French bean, lettuce, mustard and cress, radish, tomato and cucumber if well heated. Transplant in your greenhouse chicory, rhubarb, sea kale, all for forcing, and harvest carrot, French bean, lettuce, mustard and cress, parsley and radish. That was a big roundup of your garden. Let's check out the comments. Stephen, Tina, Jewel, we got frost today, bruh. And there's the link Steve's done for Two Doves Bees and Gardens. Two Doves Bees and Gardens said, how cold does your temps get there? We will occasionally get the teens. Ooh, I don't know. What temperature, Mike, would you say?
The lowest it's ever been in our 90 years is smack on zero.
Did you hear that, or do I need to repeat? The lowest ever that isn't rare, that is rare, is 0. Is the lowest it's ever got in our region. Huh?
Where we are here.
Yes, where we are, because of course, high up the Troodos Mountains, they do get snow, but not where we live. So that is the coldest ever. If you look at my live on Friday on my other channel, I was doing it in my sun lounge, and in the middle of the live, I say, I've got to stop filming. I didn't, I moved. The camera's overheating. So that gives you an idea of, that's a much earlier for me time. So that gives you an idea that during the day, it's still pretty hot here. But this is now 6 o'clock at night for me, and you need to put a jumper on now. Same as very early in the morning, you need a jumper. You couldn't just go out and do something in the garden very early, but during the day, it can still be very hot. So we have doors open during the day. That gives you an idea. We have all the doors to the garden open during the day. And as I say, my live on Friday on my other channel was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was hot. So you can't guarantee weather either way. It's like we shouldn't have rain, but we did have rain the other day, so we can't really say. Imagine a very hot spring. That's kind of what it's like here for our winter. We can't guarantee either way. We have gotten to -2 here a couple of years ago. I think on average, I can't really say. What do you say, Mike, on average, what we get? We don't really look at temperatures. You ask any Cypriots the temperature, and we don't use temperatures. We say hot, very hot, quite hot, warm, not so warm. It's not a Cypriot thing to look at temperatures. No, I don't think we have weather forecast like that either. I'd have to look on my phone. Oh, mind you, it's late now. It's late now. But yeah, I'll have to look during the day tomorrow what it is on my phone. Right, hold on. Fahrenheit and Celsius. What were you going on, Mike?
Celsius.
Mike was talking Celsius. I don't know. But yeah, I wish I'd looked on Friday what it was. But as I say, I was indoors and it said the camera was overheating. And I said, oh no. So I had to pick up the tripod and move with it. So if you go on Friday, you'll see. Oh, and I did actually say that while I was filming live on Friday on my other channel. I actually said, in a way, I'm glad I'm filming this live, because sometimes I film and people say, oh, but when was that? And I was like, well, that was like today or last week or whatever. And I'm sure people don't believe how hot it is here still, particularly as by the evening I've put a jumper on because I'm just sitting now. And obviously, if I've just been cutting wood ready for winter and I was hot, but if I don't and I sit, then you start to feel cold. Yeah, so I said on my live, I'm glad really that you could see how hot it was because it was sunny and you could see all the shadows. And so do go and have a look, and that will give you an idea of how hot it is during the day. Definitely. Okay, let's move along. Let's do this. So I thought we haven't done much blast from the past as in history. And this is something that I'm always interested in, education. And this is in the schoolroom of Edwardian times in England, in Edwardian times school. And it says hard work at school was always encouraged and rewarded with yearly prizes at some schools. Before 1870, children in England were educated according to their parents' ability to pay fees of private schools, and the existence and availability of free voluntary schools run by charities and religious bodies. After 1870, board schools, financed from local education rates, were established in urban areas, and particularly where there were few church schools. Most of these schools concentrated on the teaching of reading, writing, and arithmetic, but their achievements were not remarkable. Neville Cardius attended what was known as a board school, a place of darkness and inhumanity. I learned scarcely anything there except to read and write. For 4 years only I did attend school, dedicate years and miserable. Florence Atherton was luckier at her school. It was a Catholic school. All of us went to the same school. The eldest looked after the young ones. The boys and girls were separate, boys upstairs, girls downstairs, but it wasn't a school that punished people a lot. In those early days, infants often sat in a circle on the floor, grouped around the teacher as she pointed with her long stick to letters on the blackboard. Then they traced the shapes for themselves in little trays filled with sand. We made our letters and figures with the little stick like a pencil. Later we had a slate and a slate pencil, which made a horrible noise as the whole class worked. Older children sat on hard wooden benches behind their desk and silently did their copywriting and sums. By 1901, the best of the board schools had already started to organise secondary education, but politicians and academics realised that the entire system of primary and secondary teaching was inadequate. Buildings were too small, often unhealthy and badly equipped. Classrooms were overcrowded with between 40 and 60 children in one class. Many of the pupils were cold and hungry throughout the day, and most teachers, some of whom were under 16 years of age, had no formal training, although many were thorough, hard-working and extremely dedicated. One young teacher, writing in 1901, had to teach every subject as if our lives depended on it. My first headmistress was a marionette who was determined that her young staff should work. Each teacher was wholly responsible for her class and had to teach every single subject, even music, even if they didn't know any music. Many children played truant, partly because for them the schoolroom held no charm. Lessons made no sense. Teachers were often frightening and punishments were severe, and partly, and more importantly, because parents needed what little money their children could earn from full or part-time jobs. The school attendance officer, known as the school bald man, who would arrive from time to time in uniform, a peaked cap, and a very fierce expression, was much feared and was commonly regarded as a sort of policeman. Front doors slammed as truanting pupils escaped to a hiding place, while in the classrooms teachers and pupils alike were intimidated by his and the school's inspectors' unbending harshness and cold attitude. A.L. Rose clearly remembers episodes like the inspector calling in Standard 11 and asking what change you would have from £1 if you had spent so much and so much, adding up to 14 shillings, 6.5 pence, or some awkward figure like that. Let's just check the comments. Steve says, I remember the slate when I started school. Mike used to have to chisel out on stone at his school. Steve says 1962 to 1963, before I was born. Gosh, a slate. It should go back to whiteboards now because it would save waste of paper. Whiteboards, like the write-on boards. And I fear that so many schools now don't even write. No pens, no pencils. They don't even write anymore. And those you see writing don't actually know how to hold a pen correctly. They do this weird thing with their fingers. Ugh. Uninspired teaching. Teaching was dull and very formal. Teachers believing they merely had to cram as many facts into heads as possible. The more facts a child could remember, the more intelligent he or she was believed to be. In some classrooms, badly trained teachers did not even try to occupy the rows of students sitting facing them. Often the children sat doing nothing or were required to read silently while Sir or Miss marked books and registers, or even sat reading the daily newspaper. A board school of 1900 was supposed to cover a curriculum that included arithmetic, reading, writing, algebra, chemistry, scripture, grammar, geography, history, botany, singing, drawing, geometry, science, and drill. This seems a comprehensive and ambitious programme, but most schools taught only the most basic work and concentrated on the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Boys received some manual training, and girls were expected to learn cookery, housewifery, sewing, knitting, and laundry. iPads now, says Steve. And Steve says, Miss Elmar and Miss Ottewell, my first teachers. My first teacher was Mrs. Rye. Strict but fair, says Steve. That's good. Yeah, my first teacher was Mrs. Wright. And if you want to know all about my school life, then you need to go on my other channel, Tranquility Through Life's Natural Beauty. I've got a whole playlist of my childhood memories. So the first episode is my memories from birth, what I remember, and then I'm going through my school life and other life. But the first, I think where I'm up to, I'm still doing my first school. I'm still talking about my first school, my infant school. So if you want to hear about mine, then do go and click on the playlist. Something like My Childhood Memories, that's what the playlist is called, and start the first episode. So we'll read a tiny bit more today. The dreaded cane. Teachers used rigid discipline to encourage their pupils to learn, believing the best way to govern was by fear. Girls and boys were made to sit bolt upright with very straight backs and arms folded on their desk in front of them. If they moved or whispered, they were likely to be caned. The school cane was always in evidence, and even small children were beaten, most often on the hands. Boys falling victim to such harsh treatment far more often than the girls. Soap was supposed to lessen the sting of the rod on soft palms of the hand, and some lads, believing they would be caned at least once during the day, would arrive in the morning with plenty of soap already rubbed in. Other boys used a different tactic, as Leonard Clark recalls. Some boys in my time believed that if a horsehair was wound round the palm of the hand, it would render the cane impotent. For more serious misdemeanours, the offending child was made to touch his toes and have his bottom caned. Some establishments were positively sadistic in their discipline. Steve said, yes, got the cane. Tina as well, backside caning. Wow. I think we'll leave that there for today. It's definitely interesting, some of the Edwardian times and beyond, where things came from. There's control, but there's better methods of control. This is same with parental ways of control. I've always found in teaching to only shout, well, not shout, I've never shouted teaching, but have a calm voice. When you raise your voice, it's such a shock that renders the same as shouting. So if you're a parent that shouts all the time, it doesn't have any effect at all. Doesn't have any effect at all. Okay, I think we're going to finish there for today, and thank you all for being here. Let me know in the comments, if you watch this back later, what your favourite part was, what you want to hear more of. And as I say, if I'm not live at any point, do just go and see if there's a premiere instead. That's where you will find what's happening. If there's not a live, as I say, I might not be around to be able to put a community post up to remind you. So spread the word, and that's where I will probably be. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon. Until next time, as always, Meraki.